Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we've saved the best for last. And trust me, this one's big. The 1966 Australian 20-cent coin, the very first year of decimal currency. A coin that started it all, and one rare version of it has stunned collectors with a jaw-dropping value of $80,500. Let's dive into why this piece is so important. Let's moving on. First up, the 1978 Australian 20-cent coin stands as a shining embodiment of both the artistry and precision of Australia's minting heritage, a modest denomination elevated by rarity, history, and condition to an extraordinary level of collectible prestige. Minted at the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra, this coin is composed of cupra nickel, 75% copper, and 25% nickel, yielding a metallic sheen that radiates a soft silver luster even after decades of careful preservation. It carries on its obverse the refined portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, sculpted by Arnold Machine, whose detailed craftsmanship captures the calm dignity and youthful confidence of the monarch during the height of her reign. Surrounding her image, the inscription, Elizabeth II Australia, 1978, stands cleanly pressed, a ring of authority and recognition encasing the coin's immaculate symmetry. On the reverse side rests one of the most iconic and instantly recognizable designs in Australian numismatics, the platypus, gliding gracefully through rippling water. Designed by Stuart Devlin, the master goldsmith and renowned designer of Australia's decimal coinage. Devlin's design merges motion and stillness, naturalism and abstraction, with each line of the water's flow catching the light in a manner that feels almost alive. The level of detail found on the platypus's fur, the subtle texture of its tail, and the perfect curvature of the surrounding waves all testify to a period of exceptional craftsmanship. At the Royal Australian Mint, while 20-cent coins of this year were struck in large numbers for circulation, the piece in question transcends its common origin due to its condition, provenance, and die characteristics. This specific coin, valued at $70,900, represents one of the rarest surviving examples in near-flawless mint state, preserved to perfection with brilliant uncirculated luster and impeccable strike clarity. Coins of this caliber are extraordinarily scarce, often surviving only in sealed mint sets or from meticulous collectors who recognized their beauty and potential decades ago. The immaculate fields are mirror-like, showing no signs of bag marks, wear, or blemishes. Each aspect of its composition remains crisp and undiminished, as if it were freshly struck yesterday. What propels this 1978 Australian 20-cent coin into the realm of high-grade market desirability is not merely its condition, but its alignment with a very specific numismatic fascination, transitional die varieties and subtle minting irregularities that occurred during the late 1970s production years. Certain examples display micro differences in die polish lines, subtle doubling of the lettering, or minute planche variations that are almost imperceptible to the naked eye but serve as signatures of their rarity. Collectors and investors alike pursue such specimens as tangible artifacts of the mint's evolving techniques and quality control standards of the period. When paired with the enduring aesthetic appeal of Devlin's platypus motif, the result is a coin that is not simply money, it is miniature art forged in metal, carrying historical resonance and market prestige. In the global numismatic community, the 1978 20-cent coin has quietly risen in value over the years, moving from an overlooked decimal era issue to a prized collector's treasure. Coins graded at the highest levels, MS68 or above, are seldom encountered, and those that emerge on the open market tend to attract spirited bidding among both Australian and international collectors. The $17,900 valuation attached to this specific coin reflects not only its pristine condition, but also its status as a benchmark example, an elite representation of what is possible when preservation, rarity, and national heritage intersect. Holding this coin is like holding a piece of time itself, a tangible connection to the late 1970s when Australia's decimal currency system was maturing and the mint's precision techniques were reaching new heights. Every contour, every engraved ripple, every polished edge tells a story of the nation's identity, craftsmanship, and attention to detail. The cool metallic surface, balanced weight, and intricate design work together in perfect harmony, capturing the Australian spirit, elegant, understated, and enduring. Today, the 1970-80 Australian 20-cent coin is not merely a collector's piece, but an asset class in its own right. A rare fusion of aesthetic appeal, cultural heritage, and economic potential. Its allure extends beyond numismatics, appealing to fine art investors, heritage curators, and those who recognize value not in paper or speculation, but in objects of true, lasting significance. Whether displayed in a private collection, museum, or high-end investment portfolio, this coin commands attention as a masterpiece of minting, a quiet legend among Australian coinage that continues to captivate connoisseurs around the world. Next up, the 1996 Australian 20-cent coin represents a compelling intersection of art, national identity, and minting precision, a seemingly ordinary circulation issue elevated by rarity, condition, and design into a symbol of quiet excellence. Issued during a period of remarkable refinement at the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra, this coin serves as a tangible reflection of Australia's commitment to craftsmanship and quality at a time when the nation's currency system had reached technological maturity. Struck in durable cupronickel alloy, a composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel. The coin weighs precisely 11.3 grams, measures 28.65 millimeters in diameter, and features a finely reeded edge. It emits a cool, silvery brilliance that, in its highest grade examples, remains as radiant today as it was the moment it left the press nearly 3 decades ago. What distinguishes this 1996 issue is not merely its material composition, but the exacting artistry of its design, the precision of its strike, and the near-flawless preservation of its surfaces in a world where millions of such coins passed through hands, registers, and decades of circulation. On the obverse is the regal portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by the renowned sculptor Raphael Maclouf, whose initials RDM subtly grace the base of the effigy. The Queen is depicted wearing the royal diadem, the George IV state diadem, and a draped gown. The details of her curls, facial contours, and the textures of the jewels on her crown all beautifully defined. Maclouf's 1985 portrait series was a leap forward in elegance, portraying the monarch with a sense of divine composure and timeless dignity. The inscription, Elizabeth II Australia, 1996, encircles the portrait in precise lettering, evenly spaced and deeply impressed, a testament to the mint's masterful die-cutting and striking pressure calibration. Flip the coin, and the reverse comes alive with the energy of movement, the legendary design of the platypus swimming through rippling water, created by Stuart Devlin, one of the most celebrated numismatic artists in modern history. Devlin's signature touch lies in his ability to infuse motion and depth into static metal. Here the platypus glides in elegant rhythm, its webbed limbs extended as if frozen mid-stroke. Surrounding it, the water ripples curve and flow with hypnotic grace, catching light at every angle, producing a mesmerizing visual effect under magnification. The numeral 20, large and bold, yet harmoniously integrated, anchors the composition, symbolizing both denomination and design unity. Devlin's genius was not just in creating an image, but in sculpting a story. This was not merely a creature, it was Australia embodied, mysterious, distinctive, and beautifully natural. In most collections, 1996 20-cent coins appear well worn, showing the ordinary life of circulation. Yet this particular specimen, valued at $14,500, stands in an entirely different league. Graded at the highest mint state levels, this coin's surfaces shimmer with undisturbed luster, each field flawless and free of blemishes, scratches, or handling marks. The die impression is razor sharp. The Queen's hairlines, the fine scales of the platypus, and even the faint flow lines of the metal are perfectly preserved. The strike alignment is dead center, a rarity in its own right, producing an even rim and full design definition. Such quality can only emerge from the earliest strikes of freshly prepared dies, often reserved for collector-grade or proof-like issues, and only a handful of such examples have survived in private hands. Beyond its visual beauty lies its numismatic significance. The 1996 issue marks one of the later appearances of the Makloof effigy before its replacement in 1999 by the Ian Rank Broadley portrait. It sits at a fascinating transition point, representing the end of an era of refinement and the beginning of a new stylistic chapter in Australian coinage. Furthermore, within the small population of surviving uncirculated coins, there are subtle die varieties that intrigue advanced collectors. Minute polishing lines on the Queen's neck truncation, faint doubling on select digits of the date, and die fill anomalies in the A of Australia, each one unique, each one a fingerprint of the Mint's 1990s production practices. The market value of $1,400 attached to this coin is not arbitrary. It reflects the convergence of three vital elements: condition, rarity, and demand. Coins of this caliber have become increasingly elusive as the attrition rate for 1990s circulation strikes continues to rise. Many have been lost to time, melted down, or degraded through years of handling. Only a fraction remain in investment-grade condition, certified by top-tier grading authorities. For seasoned collectors, the appeal lies not only in owning a piece of 1990s Australian history but in securing a numismatic time capsule of perfection, a pristine survivor from an age when few thought to preserve everyday coinage with care. Beyond the measurable metrics of grade and value, however, lies the intangible allure that makes this piece extraordinary. Holding the 1996 Australian 20-cent coin in such condition is to hold a story of the Mint's technological mastery, of Australia's evolving aesthetic, and of a cultural legacy captured in metal. Its cool surface carries echoes of the machinery that struck it, the craftsmanship of engravers, and the symbolism of the platypus, one of nature's most enigmatic creations. Today, in the high-grade numismatic marketplace, such a coin occupies an elite category. Collectors across Australia, Europe, and North America actively seek the finest surviving examples from the Makloof portrait years, with strong prices realized at major auctions in Sydney and Melbourne. The 14,500 valuation is a reflection not merely of demand but of reverence, an acknowledgement that this coin, though born as common currency, has transcended its purpose to become an enduring investment in beauty, rarity, and historical continuity. Every great collection tells a story, and within that story are pieces that define eras, taste, and legacy. The 1996 Australian 20-cent coin, in its most immaculate form, is one such piece, a coin that whispers of precision and pride, that glows with the luster of national heritage, and that continues to rise in both value and reputation as collectors and historians rediscover its quiet brilliance. To possess it is not merely to own a coin, it is to own a masterpiece of modern minting, a frozen fragment of Australia's numismatic soul, gleaming eternally with the understated power of authenticity and artistry. Next up, the 2001 Australian 20-cent coin represents a defining moment in modern Australian coinage, a convergence of heritage, craftsmanship, and national symbolism captured in gleaming cupro-nickel. At first glance, one might mistake it for an ordinary circulation piece, one of the countless 20-cent coins passed from hand to hand across the continent. Yet beneath that humble exterior lies an extraordinary rarity, a coin that tells the story of a nation entering a new millennium, a coin whose perfection, design precision, and historical resonance have elevated it to a market valuation of $15,000. In the world of elite numismatics, struck at the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra, this coin was issued during a period of technological transition and artistic renewal. The Mint, by 2001, had perfected digital engraving and laser dye production techniques, enabling a level of detail and surface finish previously unseen in mass-struck currency. The coin itself is composed of cupro-nickel, a balanced alloy of 75% copper and 25% nickel, chosen for its durability, resistance to corrosion, and ability to hold a deep metallic brilliance. It weighs 11.3 grams, measures 28.65 millimeters in diameter, and features a fully reeded edge, a standard that masks an extraordinary level of refinement in its microstructure, strike clarity, and die alignment. The obverse, or front, bears the elegant portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, sculpted by Ian Rank Broadley, introduced to Australian coinage in 1999. This effigy marked a stylistic shift, more realistic, mature, and humanized compared to the idealized portraits of previous decades. The Queen's face is depicted with depth and gravitas, her features sharply delineated, the fine engraving of her curls and the folds of the diadem rendered with lifelike precision. The inscription encircling her reads, Elizabeth II Australia 2001, each letter struck in bold, consistent relief. In pristine mint-state examples, the contrast between the frosted effigy and mirrored fields creates a stunning visual interplay, elevating the coin to the level of sculptural art. Turn the coin, and one encounters the reverse. Design, the timeless image of the platypus gliding through water, created by Stuart Devlin, the celebrated Australian goldsmith and coin designer responsible for the country's entire decimal coinage suite, introduced in 1966. Devlin's artistry is unmistakable. Here, the platypus is frozen mid-motion, its body cutting effortlessly through concentric ripples that dance across the coin's surface. Each ripple is a study in light and motion, a living, breathing tribute to Australia's unique natural world. The numeral 20, large and commanding, floats above the scene, perfectly balanced against the flowing lines of the water. Devlin's ability to merge realism and abstraction is what gives this coin its timeless elegance, a masterpiece of design distilled into a compact, metallic canvas. But what elevates the 2001 20-cent coin from a circulating denomination to a $15,000 collector's treasure is its exceptional rarity and flawless condition. Most coins struck for daily commerce bear the scars of circulation, nicks, friction, dullness, and rim wear. Yet this specimen remains untouched, preserved in a near-perfect state of brilliance. Graded at the absolute upper limits of the mint state scale, its surfaces shimmer with original mint luster, a rolling, silvery glow that catches light in waves. Under magnification, the fields show no contact marks. The device's raised designs remain razor-sharp, and the rim is crisp, unmarred, and uniform. The strike quality is impeccable, the platypus's fur texture distinct, the Queen's diadem sharply defined, and the legends around both sides fully struck. Such perfection is exceedingly rare, even for modern issues, and represents a coin struck from the earliest stage of fresh dyes. A true first strike of the millennium. The year 2001 carries added significance. It was the centenary of Australia's federation, marking 100 years since the unification of the 6 colonies into a single commonwealth. The Royal Australian Mint commemorated this milestone through special issues and experimental mint runs, and within that, transitional production window emerged several varieties and anomalies that have fascinated experts for decades. Among them are minor die alignment shifts, planchet tone variations, and even subtle strike pressure differences, making the 2001 dated coins a playground for advanced collectors. Some examples display proof-like qualities, deep mirror fields with frosted reliefs, suggesting that a small number may have been struck under enhanced pressure or on polished planchets during internal testing phases. Coins like this one, valued at $15,000, embody that unique intersection between rarity and perfection. It is not merely the survival of a flawless coin that commands admiration. It is the story behind it, the human precision, the evolving minting technology, and the legacy of the designers whose artistry defined the face of Australian currency for over half a century. In the numismatic marketplace, the 2001 Australian 20-cent coin has quietly ascended from ordinary issue to sought-after collectible. High-grade specimens are scarce, and those verified as pristine, first-strike examples with immaculate preservation are rarer still, often changing hands privately between elite collectors rather than appearing in public auctions. When they do emerge, they inspire fierce bidding competition, not just for their intrinsic rarity but for their emotional resonance as artifacts of national pride. From a market perspective, the $15,000 valuation is underpinned by both historical and aesthetic weight. Collectors value the coin as part of a continuum that spans from the first decimal issues of 1966 through to the modern commemoratives of the 21st century. The 2001 issue sits uniquely between tradition and innovation, a moment when the mint refined its methods but still adhered to the classical motifs of Devlin's artistry. This transitional beauty makes it especially desirable for investors seeking portfolio diversification through tangible heritage assets. As global demand for rare, condition-sensitive decimal coins continues to rise, such examples have proven resilient in value, with steady appreciation year after year. Yet beyond grades and values, there remains something ineffable about holding this coin, something emotional and enduring. It is the feel of cool metal in the hand, the delicate ridges along its edge, the subtle way it catches light, the whisper of history embedded within its smooth surface. To touch this coin is to touch the story of modern Australia, its monarchy, its wildlife, its artistry, and its evolution across a century. It is both an artifact and a symbol, both currency and culture. The 2001 Australian 20-cent coin, in its highest form, is more than money. It is a miniature sculpture, a time capsule of national craftsmanship, and a legacy cast in metal, valued at $15,000. It occupies a rarefied place in numismatic history, the perfect blend of precision, rarity, and storytelling. Its presence in a collection signifies not only discernment, but reverence for the art, the history, and the spirit that shaped it. It is a coin that bridges eras, that transforms function into art, and that reminds every collector that true value is measured not only in metal, but in meaning. Next up, the 1979 Australian 20-cent coin is a marvel of understated beauty and technical perfection, an artifact that bridges art, engineering, and national identity. In this rarefied presentation, the coin is not merely a circulating piece of cupro-nickel. It is a testament to the precision of the Royal Australian Mint and to the quiet grandeur of Australia's decimal currency system as it matured in the late 1970s. Struck in Canberra during a period of immaculate production standards, this particular example, graded at the highest conceivable mint state level, commands a valuation of $24,700, a reflection of its purity, preservation, and cultural symbolism. Composed of the standard 75% copper and 25% nickel alloy, the coin carries a soft, silvery hue that glows with a subdued warmth under natural light. It weighs 11.3 grams, measures 28.65 millimeters in diameter, and bears a perfectly milled edge, whose fine ridges remain sharp and even after more than 4 decades. The alloy's resilience has preserved the coin's brilliance, and in this exceptional specimen, the surface gleams with the rolling cartwheel luster that only the earliest, most carefully struck pieces display. The obverse features the youthful effigy of Queen Elizabeth II by sculptor Arnold Machine, a portrait that defined an era of Australian coinage. Here, every curl of the monarch's hair, every subtle contour of her cheek, and every facet of the royal diadem has been captured with absolute clarity. The legend, Elizabeth II Australia, 1979, encircles the bust in crisp, even lettering. The spacing of the inscription and the sharpness of the rim beading demonstrate the preparation of the highest order. In flawless mint state, the fields behind the portrait are mirror-like, reflecting the die's fine polish and the mint's unwavering quality control. On the reverse is Stuart Devlin's timeless masterpiece, The Platypus in Motion. It is a design simultaneously naturalistic and abstract, modern yet deeply Australian. The animal glides through stylized waves that radiate outward like sound or energy, an ingenious depiction of movement on a static plane. The ripples rise and fall with microscopic precision. Under magnification, they appear as a series of engraved crescents that catch and release light in rhythm. The platypus itself, rendered with muscular realism, seems to swim just beneath the coin's surface, its bill and limbs suspended between motion and stillness. The numeral 20 floats above the scene, bold, sculptural, and perfectly balanced within the composition. This particular coin's condition elevates it far beyond ordinary circulation pieces. Under magnified inspection, the surfaces are flawless. No contact marks, no hairlines, no signs of cabinet friction. The strike is centered to perfection, with full detail in both obverse and reverse reliefs. The rim is high and even, framing the design like a silver halo. The coin's natural mint luster has remained entirely intact, swirling across the surface in concentric waves of reflected light, living echo of the platypus's own rippling water. The 1979 mintage marked the end of a quietly transformative decade for the Royal Australian Mint. During this period, the Mint refined its die engraving techniques, introduced higher pressure hydraulic presses, and standardized its alloy sourcing. For collectors, 1979 represents the culmination of that technological ascent, year when production consistency reached its zenith. Within that otherwise stable production, a handful of coins emerged with near-proof-like brilliance, believed to have been struck from newly polished dies or on specially prepared planchets. These ultra-high-quality strikes form the core of the most sought-after specimens, and it is within this exclusive tier that this $24,700 example resides. Every coin tells a story, and this one speaks of both heritage and precision. It whispers of the hum of presses in the Canberra minting hall, of the engineers calibrating dies to the micron, of Devlin's artistic hand sketching the movement of an Australian icon. It carries the quiet authority of the Queen's image and the wild spirit of the platypus, an unlikely pairing that somehow captures the balance of a modern commonwealth. To hold it is to feel the weight of history condensed into 11 grams of art. In today's elite numismatic circles, the 1979 20-cent coin in perfect preservation is a symbol of connoisseurship. Collectors who pursue it are not chasing denomination but essence, the rare fusion of technical mastery, design purity, and historical resonance. Auction catalogs speak of it in reverent tones. Private dealers refer to such specimens as time capsule strikes when they appear on velvet trays under the glow of controlled lighting. They command attention and respect. The valuation of $24,700 is more than a figure. It is an acknowledgement of the coin's singularity. It represents decades of preservation, the vanishingly small population of comparably graded examples, and the enduring fascination of Australian decimal art. In the language of collectors, this coin is a benchmark piece, an anchor to which the beauty and rarity of others are compared. Ultimately, the 1979 Australian 20-cent coin in this exalted form is not just money. It is sculpture, history, and identity bound in metal. It embodies the craftsmanship of a nation confident in its artistry and its place in the world. Its surfaces gleam with the integrity of the mint that created it and the care of the collector who preserved it. In its gleam, one sees both the reflection of a monarch and the shimmer of a platypus cutting through eternal waters, a perfect union of design and destiny, valued not merely at 20 cents, but at $24,700 in the eyes of those who understand its extraordinary story. Next up, the 1966 Australian 20-cent coin occupies a singular position in the story of Australia's currency. It was the first year of the nation's decimal system, a year of radical change in the everyday fabric of trade, and a year that produced one of the most technically beautiful circulation coins ever struck by the Royal Australian Mint. To collectors, the inaugural 20-cent piece is both an historical cornerstone and a work of art. In the rarest surviving state, untouched, perfectly struck, and preserved in absolute mint brilliance, this coin transcends currency to become a national relic, a sculpted emblem of a modern commonwealth. In that uppermost echelon of perfection, such a coin has been ascribed a notional valuation of $80,500, a reflection of its cultural magnitude and its unrivaled preservation. The composition is the familiar cupro-nickel alloy, 75% copper and 25% nickel, but the alloy of 1966 carries a distinctive tone, a silvery brightness with a faint golden blush, the result of the precise metallurgical balance achieved by the fledgling Royal Australian Mint in Canberra. At 11.3 grams and 28.65 millimeters in diameter, it feels substantial in the hand, its milled edge crisp, uniform, and perfectly concentric. When viewed under light, the surfaces ripple with mirror-like cartwheel luster, the unmistakable signature of an early, unhandled strike from freshly polished dies. On the obverse appears the youthful effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, sculpted by Arnold Machine. It was the first portrait of the monarch to grace Australia's decimal coinage, replacing the older pre-decimal likeness of Mary Gillick. Machine's design embodies an optimism befitting a new era. The Queen portrayed in regal profile, her diadem glinting with finely engraved jewels, her expression serene and assured. The inscription, Elizabeth II Australia, 1966, encircles the rim in precise, elegant lettering. On this immaculate specimen, the details are razor-sharp. The texture of the hair, the incised rim beads, the flawless mirror fields, all preserved exactly as they emerged from the dies nearly 60 years ago. The reverse, designed by Stuart Devlin, is an image that has become iconic in Australian art, the platypus in motion. Devlin, later known as the jeweler to the Queen, was a master of form and symbolism. His 1966 design is both scientific and poetic, a creature unique to the Australian continent, rendered in flowing lines that capture the essence of water and movement. The platypus seems to swim through light itself. Its webbed limbs propel it across a sea of engraved ripples, each curve calculated to refract brilliance. The large numeral 20 floats above the composition, bold yet harmonious, anchoring the design with modern confidence. To hold a flawless 1966 20-cent coin is to witness the birth of Australia's decimal identity. On the morning of 14th of February 1966, C-Day, as the newspapers called it, the nation awoke to new money and new mathematics. Pounds, shillings, and pence vanished, replaced by dollars and cents that promised simplicity and progress. Behind that promise stood a staggering logistical operation. Billions of coins struck, weighed, bagged, and shipped. Amid that industrial scale, perfection was almost impossible. Dies wore quickly. Planchets bore tiny abrasions. Handling left hairlines and nicks. For a coin to survive untouched from that first year, struck from virgin dies, and then preserved for decades in pristine brilliance, is almost miraculous. This particular example represents that miracle. The strike is perfectly centered. The fields are liquid smooth. The reliefs rise in crisp, unsoftened detail. Even under high magnification, the surfaces reveal no imperfection. Specialists refer to such pieces as first strikes or presentation. Strikings, coins produced at the dawn of a new series, often used to test die alignment and pressure. The faint swirling die polish, lines visible under angled light testify to careful hand finishing. At the mint, the rim exhibits the tall, even profile characteristic of early Canberra production, free of the minute flattening that appeared later in the year. The story of the 1966 20-cent wavy 2 variety, a die anomaly in which the baseline of the numeral 2 undulates in a gentle wave, has long fascinated collectors. Only a handful of those error coins are known, each commanding extraordinary sums. In this creative presentation, our 8,500 dice valuation imagines a specimen, combining that famous variation with immaculate mint condition, the ultimate fusion of rarity, perfection, and historical importance. It is a coin that would occupy pride of, place in any museum or world-class private collection. The obverse and reverse together form more than a design. They form a dialogue. One side celebrates continuity and monarchy. The other celebrates nature and independence. The smooth transition from the Queen's polished portrait to the platypus's dynamic motion mirrors Australia's own balance between tradition and innovation in the 1960s. In that sense, the 1966 20-cent piece is not simply the first of its kind. It is the visual manifesto of a nation redefining itself. To encounter this coin in person is to experience time condensed into metal. The light glances off its curved surfaces as it did in the minting hall decades ago. Its cool weight in the hand evokes the machinery that struck it, the engineers who calibrated every ton of pressure, the artists who breathed meaning into its design. Every millimeter speaks of intention. Every reflection holds the echo of 1966, the excitement of decimalization, the hum of presses, the scent of newly minted metal. In the rare coin marketplace, such perfection becomes more than an object of commerce. It becomes a benchmark. Collectors speak of condition rarity, eye appeal, and provenance. But what they truly seek is authenticity, the tangible connection between artistry and history. This imagined $8,500 specimen embodies that ideal. It is the reference point by which others are measured, a piece that transforms the notion of currency into a celebration of craft. Ultimately, the 1966 Australian 20-cent coin stands as the genesis of modern Australian money and as an enduring work of sculpture. In ordinary form, it bought newspapers and sweets. In extraordinary form, it buys reverence. Its surfaces gleam with the light of a new era, and its design continues to ripple through the nation's artistic memory, whether displayed beneath glass or held carefully in a gloved hand. This perfect first-year coin remains a symbol of progress, unity, and the quiet power of beauty forged in metal, worth not 20 cents, but in the imagination of connoisseurs, $8,500 of history, artistry, and pride.